Y'all, it's Tony Playboy.
Welcome to the Tea Off.
Ooh, spill that tea, sis.
This is how we like to start our show off. We like to spill some tea on our favorite athletes and some of the crazy situations they get into. This week is pretty interesting. All right, so if you don't know, there's been some iffy things going on with the NBA enforcement of their COVID protocols. NBA superstar, face of the league, LeBron James, had a little tequila party.
With Drake, I hear Champagne Papi was there, right?
I heard it was A-list all around. But I mean, we definitely saw the pictures with Drake on IG. He wasn't trying to hide it. Right? It was a outside event. I want to be very clear about that. It was an outside event that was promoting a tequila brand that he is a part owner / investor of. And this comes out and everybody's like, hey, this looks kind of weird. LeBron James is basically at a party, event with a lot of people, right?
Not social distancing.
Not social distancing, not with masks on. It's definitely larger than I think either the 10 or 15 mark that is in the NBA COVID protocol. So that's what we identify as large.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, whoa. LeBron James just violated the NBA COVID protocol. And if you are a frequent listener of the Fly Route podcast, we, at the beginning of this NBA protocols, when they came out, we covered the consequences. And we were like, whoa, that type of violation generally comes with a 7 to 10 day quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine losing LeBron James for 7 days? We even talked about the playoffs.
We did talk about this exact scenario months ago.
And how many games it could be. You would functionally lose LeBron James for 3+ playoff games.
If that happens, they lose this series. I'm telling you that right now. What adds a layer to this story is LeBron himself, who has been very vocal about some of the NBA's health and safety protocols related to COVID. He, for example, said the All-Star game should never have happened, even though we're not really in a much different place than we are now when it comes to COVID. Numbers are lower, but we've had vaccines, we've had treatments, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's ironic that not even 60 days ago, we shouldn't even be doing the All-Star game. They said we weren't going to do it, to I got to make some money off this tequila.
Right? Well, I don't even think it was about the money for him. I think he's like, I just want to hang out with Drizzy. You know what it is.
And Drizzy wants to hang out with LeBron.
Okay.
I guarantee you.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, look, hoopers want to be rappers. Rappers want to be hoopers.
Always the thing.
Cycle of life. And this was interesting because then later on in the week, someone, I don't know who it was, takes a picture of Dallas Mavericks star, former New York Knicks, Kristaps Porzingis in a bar or club with no mask on. And the NBA ends up investigating. He gets the Lou Will special. And although he didn't snitch on himself, he was just minding his own business. And the picture wasn't even of his face. They were like the back of your head.
7-foot white guys can't be that common, I guarantee you. Especially, no, 7-foot white guys aren't that common. There's only like 2 of them in Dallas. One's name's Dirk and one's name is Kristaps. And there's a 50-50 chance that's you at this bar.
Look, it was interesting because the NBA then turned around and fined Kristaps Porzingis $50,000.
That's nothing to him, but okay.
LeBron got no punishment. No fine, no suspension, no punishment at all. So it's not really... This is very similar to our Sterling Brown, Kevin Porter Jr. conversation, right? It's not really the gratuity of the fine.
No, it's the idea of the principle.
The principle of it. The protocols. The protocols apply to all of us. The protocols only apply when you want them to. And it was interesting because Charles Barkley commented on this. He's like, look, the league does not have the balls to do anything to LeBron James over this.
Yeah, the unfortunate part is I think the NBA should be more like the MLB. I don't know if you know, but the MLB, if your team, including your coaching staff, reaches a certain threshold, I think it's 75 or 80%, they relax all the COVID protocols for you, even more than the NBA does. We know now the CDC lifted their guidelines that vaccinated people are very unlikely to spread COVID, and if they are exposed to COVID, they don't have to quarantine.
So the NBA does have certain relaxed protocols. They have relaxed protocols in place for vaccinated people and different relaxed protocols in place for teams that reach a vaccination threshold, like you mentioned. But those protocols are really just removing the requirement for masks in like internal team meetings and practices on the planes. They can now serve food on their team flights, etc. Right? So it made sense why Kristaps Porzingis wasn't suspended, because Kristaps Porzingis is vaccinated. We know that to be true. LeBron James, on the other hand,
Is he not?
he will neither confirm nor deny. He was asked after this whole thing went off, because if he is vaccinated, then it becomes a much smaller issue. It becomes very similar to this Kristaps Porzingis issue, in which you are not a risk of spread to the league, right? And it's just like, hey, facts, there could be a monetary penalty, but that's really what it is. LeBron James is not confirming or denying if he's vaccinated. He says that's a private discussion for him and his family members, and that he's doing what's best for his family. Reporters then doubled down on the question, and his response was, and I quote, "It's not that big of a deal."
LeBron, you're just wrong. Once again, you're wrong. Listen, it's just like masking. The vaccines are not about just you or just you and your family. It's about everybody around you and everybody you come in contact with and who they come in contact with. So if some model that Drizzy flew in had COVID, and LeBron is unvaccinated and then gets COVID, he gives it to his whole family. He gives it to Bronny. He gives it to AD, possibly give it to Aiden or Booker, who's dapping up after the game. And we have a whole series marred because LeBron thought this was just a personal matter.
Look, LeBron contends that all individuals at this event were either vaccinated or returned a negative COVID test on that day.
That's not good enough. We know that's not good enough. We saw that during the NBA and NFL season. People could test, like Kevin Durant's situation earlier this season. Test negative, then an inconclusive, then a positive. Like, a negative test does not mean you do not have COVID. The best protection from you getting sick from COVID is a vaccine.
Look, the league thought that was also good enough. They were like, we look at this in a fact, case-by-case basis. You know, Bron is Bron. He run this shit.
Basically.
I mean, look, it was interesting. Kristaps Porzingis, I'm sure he's not really fretting on it, especially being up 2-0 against the LA Clippers right now. No. So that was your tee off.
Ooh, spit that tea, sis. Spit that tea,